Hey folks, Jacob here, better known as Necrosis. This is now the third part in my series as far as rerouting audio goes with ReaRoute. This time is going to be a simple explanation of multiple outputs through the same system. And first question is why? What do you do with this? Why would you do this? And it's best explained, well, it's easier if I explain it to you what I'm doing and physically point it out by showing you my mixer. So let's go check that out right now. Come. So here's my mixer. It's the Seismic Audio Backbone 10 channel mixer. It has 6 mono channels and 2 stereo. What that means is first 6 channels here are mono channels and then the last 2 are stereo, which means 1 control for 2 channels respectively. And of course you've got your masters, FX, meters, etc. So on channel 1 here, this XLR is my microphone. This goes out to my line in, and it uses the auxiliary 1 of 2. This comes out to here, and this is what allows me to send it out through this cable. And that line goes straight out to my line in on the computer. Eventually I'll get a MIDI keyboard, which is going to go into channel 2 here, currently unused. Now the combination of channels 3 and 4 are my primary sound output on my main computer. Essentially it's using 1 mono channel for each side, so left and right speakers accordingly. So almost all my volume essentially comes from these 2 sliders right here, which go through heavy compressions, so my games, my movies, etc. are all fairly consistent volume. Basically, set it and forget it. Now the next 2 are virtually the same thing, they're just doing it from my second computer. Connection type is all the same stuff. Next is channels 7 and 8, which is on a single slider. It's basically the same thing, you're still plugging in 2 things in the left and right. Difference just being 1 set of controls for 2 channels, that's it. Otherwise, same thing. I typically run my music through this channel here, so whatever else I'm doing I can adjust the volume respectively, and kill it if I have to. Let's see, the yellow doesn't matter, it's the effects. We don't use it. And the last stereo set is the third output to my primary computer. Same thing as the previous stereo channel, left and right coming in. Everything on those 2 are controlled by 1 set of controls, mainly for voice chat, so I can bump it up just a little bit. And then I got my main volume up here, let's say my game, and then maybe I got my music going, not as loud, and maybe I need my voices a little bit louder, or I need to turn the music off, or main volume down. I got that freedom. Or I can just kill it if I have to. I don't want to hear people's stupid voices. And it runs out through these 2 cables, which go out to my speakers. I have 2 of them, 1 in each corner. One's up there, and it's a little difficult to see maybe. And there's the other one. You can kind of see it a little bit better. This one sits over my bed. That'll be another video. So that was the hardware. Let's get back to the software. Okay, so assuming you've been following with the other videos, this window here will look familiar. This is our ReaRoute. Still the same as before. There may have been a change or 2 here and there. I have been tweaking. It's an ongoing process. It just never fucking ends. Obsessive compulsive disorder. That's how it goes. So, we've already done a lot with the output 1. If you remember, we had a Windows default audio device, which we were taking in as an input source here, and it spits it out to my output 1. And I also tied in a ReaRoute 1 and 2 route that also outputs into that. So if I wanted to use ReaRoute, sorry, that's not right. If I wanted to use an ASIO driver interface as my output to a program, I could do that instead of using the Windows default device. Ultimately, I don't think it's really made much of a difference either way, so make of that what you want. And then moving down here for a moment, we had the ducking system, the cable A, and our microphone. I don't really need to go over this at all because we did that in the last video. It's like I don't need to be redundancy. Sorry, distracted, drinking, etc. So basically it comes down to these two outputs here. What the hell are we doing here? Well, it's essentially mimicking the same thing as output 1. It's just we're tying in additional inputs into it. And in order to do that, I had to continuously add more of these cables. That's why I have them. And this is the maximum amount, the BB cables. The guy that makes them, this is the maximum amount of cables that you can get right now. You got your cable A and B, the hi-fi cable and the cable itself, and then the new voice meter and auxiliary voice meter. Like, I really wanted one more cable. Just one more. God damn it. But I don't want to use, like, virtual audio cable or something. It's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'll worry about it some other day. Which might be as early as tomorrow. I don't know. My fucking obsessive compulsiveness is just Alright, back on track now. So, originally for output 1 was our Windows default device. That's my cable input. We already know this. So for output 2, I chose to use my hi-fi cable, which has its own software as well, the ASIO bridge. We're not using it. If you needed it, it's there. You could use it for that if you wanted to bridge two interfaces, but that would be, well, that'd be a whole nother video for one. That's a whole different purpose as well. It's not necessary in our process here because this kind of supersedes it in the first place. So what this alone lets me do, in combination with the ReaRoute number 3 and 4 inputs, is mainly used for my music. I want my game audio or my movie audio or my YouTube audio or anything else I'm doing to be independent of my music. And this makes it retardedly easy. What I mean is, like, let's say I have foobar. That's what I normally use. And it would help if I actually opened it, wouldn't it? So, I'm not going to play music, don't worry. I would, but YouTube's got some really strict copyright type rules now, and since I'm playing around with the monetary system, it's like I should probably respect the law for a while. At least until I can't think of anything better to do, I guess. I don't know. So in foobar, and this is the same with any media player, any video game, typically, you'll have an output option somewhere. And so here's my device option in foobar. And, well, here you got ASIO and DS. That's what they support. DS is direct show, if you didn't know. There might be also MME, WDM, or just MME. It depends on the program and so on. But, so here, it's going into my hi-fi cable, which is output number 2. So what I often do is this thing is, my music is playing. It's playing in the background no matter what I'm doing. And as long as I don't have the volume up at all, I don't hear shit. And, you know, multi-core processing and stuff, it's not really significant as far as resource intense goes. So at any point in time, you know, I feel like mixing in a little bit of music because something's going on. I just start cranking this shit up, and then I might, you know, crank up the lows a little bit or the highs because maybe I need that snap from the snare because you get the idea. And that's the other benefit as well. When I'm playing video games, if I'm watching movies, if I'm doing YouTube stuff, a lot of times, especially anything that involves vocals, people talking, especially in Japanese, because I'm not as fluent in Japanese as I am in English. So being able to hear and understand what's going on, you know, it's that much more important. And in order to do that, a lot of times I need to cut down the bass a little bit. On my mono channels, I have the ability to reduce the lows, and in some cases I might bump up the mids a little bit or the highs a little bit for my movie or video or whatever I'm watching or doing, and it brings out the voices a little bit better. It doesn't sound as boomy and it's not that it's distorting, it's just too much bass with, well, I showed you what my speakers were. In a future video, I'll actually compare them side by side with a computer speaker, just to give you an idea of how fucking crazy I am with what I've done. But, you know, so I can set my typical lows and so on, the equalizer, physically on the mixer, not on the software end, just right here. I just got to extend my right arm and done. And because this tends to be fairly consistent, it's like if I don't want to screw up the vocals too much, well, keep it where it is right now. But music is totally different. And, well, great. My music doesn't run through this channel set. It runs through another output. I got a whole nother channel with its own independent equalizer. So, you know, I might just have it flat, or I might have it, you know, with a bit more on the bass, especially if I'm drunk and just, you know, I need to rattle this house. If I really want to rattle the house, I've got two 18-inch subwoofers that weigh more than I do out there. But, again, that'll be another video. Unless I forget. I will wing it, whatever. So that's another benefit right there, is I can control my music equalization physically without interrupting. Let's say I'm playing a game in full screen and I'm playing a good song, and it's just, I got to crank that bass up. It's just, oh, a good song. Well, if it was just software end of things, well, you got to maybe tab out of your game and go into the equalizer. And, you know, I actually have the equalizer here in FooBar, but I never actually touch it. It's really there more for show. But, you know, whatever. So you have that extra level of control right there, right then. And this goes to the speakers that I'm listening to. It's not what people are hearing. If I was streaming it, it's what I'm hearing. This is for me, Jacob, the Croesus. I want this. I'm listening to this. I'm going to suffer the hearing damage unless I keep it down below 85 decibels, which I usually do. Unless I'm drunk. Or if I forget. But usually if I forget, someone's going to come, you know, knocking on my door like, hey, dude, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. What's wrong with you? I'm on Japanese time zone? I don't know. And this is also the channel that I tend to use for my DJing or music composition type stuff. If I'm working on Tractor, I think I loaded it up previously in another video. It would be going through my output number 2. So I'm not fucking around with the main channel. And usually it's just flat on output 2. So I'm not messing with the sound. Because similar to when you're using monitor speakers, you don't really want to fuck with it too much when you need to hear what it sounds like correctly. In my case, I'm a little bit different. Instead of using monitor speakers, I'm using PA speakers, which, different approach to things. It's like, at least I know what my music will sound like on the club floor. To each their own. I just love the sound that comes out of these types of speakers. It's just It's me. It's what I like. It's what I wanted. It's what I have. So, anyways, I have a second channel, and the best part is I'm using the ASIO drivers or ASIO drivers for let's say my Tractor, my DAW, and normally this would occupy your sound card. You wouldn't get audio anywhere else until you close that program. So that doesn't happen here. I have full control. This is an independent channel. I still get audio. If I don't want it, I can just drop it down on channel, what do I have? 3 and 4, which is my output 1 and 2. It's that simple. It just control. I have control. That's kind of the whole power behind this, is I can just control this shit. Sorry, I had to pause the video there. Something good came on and I had to dance. It is like 2:15 in the morning on a Monday. Most people are not like this, I guess. I don't know. Whatever. This brings me to my next topic, which is, So output 2 I tend to use when I'm working on like serious music and stuff. And if I'm playing music just in the background, I also happen to have it routing out as a send into the ducking system. So in addition to my desktop audio, if I'm playing my games or something and streaming that, that goes out into my ducking system as well. So does my music, which means that one, anybody I'm streaming to can hear my music as well, or just my music, depending on what I want. And if I talk, it will drop the volume down temporarily and bring it right back up when I'm done. So, boom, done, done, done. Oh, life is sweet. Actually, life sucks so much that this just helps. This makes it a little more tolerable, right? Kinda. Come on, work with me, man. Come on, stop arguing. So, what happens when I don't want to, stream out my music while I'm playing my game? And that's a big issue I'm running into now with YouTube is before I've been putting up videos of like a lot of my mixes and stuff like that, just stuff, this is new shit I've got and here we go. But, they've got a lot of content ID copyright craziness, and now that I want to play around with the monetary system, it's like I should, obey the law and obey their policies and respect, people's property. So I don't want to mess with that. And when those scenarios arrive, well, I could technically use another output. I could just come in here and turn off the send, but I don't like opening this program up and doing stuff. This is more like kind of like when you configure your drivers. You kind of want to set it up once and then you're done. Anything else would be done externally. And I do that too. And I do that by going, if you remember, I'm using channels 5 and 6 on my mixer for my other computer. And this is not like pre-planned, but I will go ahead and fire this guy up real quick. If you remember from my first or second video. Deny! Haha! Firewall, bitch! I was using TeamViewer to VNC into my other computer. I can actually mouse into it and back. Well, you can actually hear the music probably. I know I can. Okay, music off. But right now, I've got music playing, just like I had, my foobar in this computer. Instead of having it running here, I have another version of it running on the other computer, and that's also going into my mixer, but only I can hear it because it's not getting routed anywhere else but my speakers, and not even through this computer. So if I'm rebooting or something, the music keeps going. It's a lot of fun sometimes when it's just like I'm playing or doing this or watching a movie or an anime or something, and it's like I'm just starting to mix in music and stuff and then drop it back down like, oh yeah, real-time mixing. Blah, 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 blah. So that allows me to enjoy music at whatever volume I want without doing anything weird and unusual, and with all the benefits of the routing system, such as being able to go through my VST plugins and such. And a big part of that is all my music tends to go through, replay gain. So most of it's brought down or up to a consistent average volume. I think that's based on RMS, not peak. I don't know. I pick 95 decibels because that tends to produce good waveforms in Tractor for my DJ software, which serves as a visual aid. If it's too quiet, I could deal with it, with the mixers and pre-gains and everything, but the visual, whoever designed Tractor is a dick. You can't change the size of the waveform display, so you're limited, and it's just a matter of clicking the button that says, do not clip, when you change the volume. So every now and then a couple songs will be like way too quiet or all screwed up because of that. But most music these days is so heavily compressed that it's like, not a problem. And foobar is a good foobar is great for that kind of support as far as replay gain stuff. It's usually through here I do the scanning and applying, and then I force it into the MP3 itself so that it can force it into other players as necessary. It streams my music into my phone, which is my exclusive music device for my car. So everything's kind of ultimately routing itself into wherever the hell I want it. If I'm on the road, I still have essentially full access to the same shit, and I don't even need my computer. But the interesting thing was, I don't even know if it was that interesting, but I'll say it anyways. Somewhere in here on the playback option, when they have the replay gain information, or if you don't have replay gain information in foobar, and other players do this too, this is not unique, you can apply a preamp gain on the software end of things within the player. So, and I think it normally defaults maybe to +6, which is about right. If you have replay gain data, it usually will drop it. The default is a target of 89 decibels. So it tends to be a little bit too quiet if you're using the same normal volume levels you would. At least when you compare it to any other audio that would happen on your computer outside of your music. So you would normally apply like a +6 decibel gain here. But I don't like fucking with this shit. Like, cancel that. Because what if I happen to load something else in here? It never does. That's why I'm able to not worry about it. But I rather just do it through my VST plugins where I know I have more power. And right now I happen to be doing something else with this. That's why this was at this. But when my music's playing, normally, let's say you got -1, -1, that's what I normally cap everything at. I don't know, let's play something for just a split second. And you can see the music is not coming near 0. And it's at -12 there. The next song, up there close to -6. The next song, close to -9. And you can see how compressed this shit is too. You know, this is kind of like the standard nowadays. And here's the next song. Same idea, you know, these are all coming down to whatever. And if I know this is what I'm working with and I don't want to fuck with the song, even though the compressor, you know, this limiter is really good at being transparent, I may drop it to about -9, for example, if I know this is all I'm playing, because this will help bring it up closer to 0. You can see right here, or at least -1, that's my target. That's what I have my mixer calibrated at. So every song I play now is becoming much more consistent, and it's not even hitting the limiter, it's just bringing it up. And because everything is so consistent through the replay gain, it's just, you know, it brings up the volume, and I do it on my routing system level through the VST plugins instead. Alright, if I could stop distracting myself now, I'll move on to this output number 3. This is kind of where you go above and beyond at this point. Like, you don't need this, but it's like, well, I have it available, and I'll explain why like after this. But it's available to me, and it's like, well, let me just add the pathways. I'll eventually find a use. And it didn't take long for me to find a use. For one, as you can see, like every single time I'm talking, it delays and then bumps up here, which is the cable A and then my ducking system, but it's also echoing it out here because I'm using the output number 3 to listen to myself. It's currently receiving cable A. So at any point, if I wanted to hear myself, I can actually bring up this slider and I can hear myself. So if I needed a voice check or something, I don't have to do anything special. I was just able to boom, 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 done. You can hear myself, and there's a delay, so it kind of gets weird and stuff. You don't want to always have that on. But besides doing it for that purpose, I mean, it's just one thing you could do with it, is using it, I'm intending to use it anyways. I haven't really had much of a chance to do it yet. This is going to be my output for my voice chat type stuff, particularly with gaming. With I want to get into Blade and Soul once the Japanese version, once it's not fucking 3,000 yen a month to play and nobody's playing. Well, eventually it's going to go into the free-to-play model, and then everyone's going to be playing, and I'll be there and just recording like a motherfucker. Gotta record something. But this will go into their built-in voice chat system, and maybe I'll show that eventually. Maybe I'll even load it up later in this video. Depends how I feel. But so I would have other people's voices going through a third channel on my mixer, and as you saw before, I'd be able to have independent control if I needed to hear people more than anything else. And now I'm echoing myself because I bumped it up while explaining that. Then I have the ability, I can reduce the music or reduce the gain volume or just bump the hell up out of the voices. And because of the dynamic mic being the way it is, I don't have to worry quite so much about, you know, things getting picked up in the microphone because I'm not going to wear a headset. I've got too many, well, one, long hair does not work well with headsets. Two, glasses do not work well with headsets. These are not sunglasses. These are prescription glasses. I have a photosensitivity. Sometimes you might see me wearing whiteout contacts. I haven't done it in a while, so sooner or later I will, and it'll be on camera, and I'll be all... But until then, wearing glasses. And three is I've got a lot of cranium accessories like earrings and stuff, and that doesn't play well nice with headphones either. So that's like three problems in one. Within one fucking individual. I don't want to wear a headset. And I shouldn't have to. I got fucking PA speakers, you bitch. So, this works, that works, everything works, and I have full fucking control over it on top of that. And the best part is, and I haven't really had a chance to play around with it too much, is since this is intended to be for that purpose of receiving other people's audio, their vocals, voices, and everything, most people do not go to the extent at which I do to get things running as optimally as possible, and they're probably going to have, like, you know, $5, $10 microphones sitting on their desktop with the boost on, and so, you know, and I don't necessarily want to hear that, or at least I want to clean it up enough so that it's not clipping my speakers and this and that. And I mean, it's already going to be running through a limiter, but there's software out there, and I think I deleted the plugins at the moment. I have not had the chance to play around with it, where, you know, run the voices through a VST filter designed to maybe declip or denoise or, you know, things of this nature to help clean up the sound a little bit, maybe make it easier to hear. There might be frequencies you can reduce or bump to make it easier, et cetera, et cetera. So that's another benefit on that, because if I put this in another channel, well, it's going to affect anything else going in that channel unless I remember to turn it off, and I got to turn it back on later, and so on and so on. No, fuck that. I got a third channel dedicated to this now. It's just that easy. It's just that easy, folks. Just that easy. Get your checkbooks and write me a check. Actually, it was a lot of fucking work. I spent over 900 hours combined developing this whole fucking mess. It's just, oh my god. And it just doesn't end. But at least now I'm putting it on video, and maybe someone will benefit out of it, or, hey, maybe it'll make me some fucking money or something. I don't know. I don't really care too much either way. But, well, let me leave that at that. Okay, so enough talking about this at the moment. The reason this whole thing became a possibility to come up, you know, and add multiple output channels the way I did, there is, well, 4 plugs on the back of my particular sound card. Xonar DG. And one of them is the line-in / mic, and then the other 3 represent sound output. One of which is your standard green stereo output. If you're not using 5.1 surround sound, that's your normal output. And I color-coded it that way too, because, you know, that's just how I roll, I guess. I don't know. And then the second one is your black auxiliary type, or I think the back left speakers if you were using surround sound. And then the last one I think is for like LFE or subwoofer type stuff. But if you're not using 5.1 surround sound, well, you may be able to use ASIO for all to reroute that. And I was almost tempted to open it here, which would have messed up my audio. The Xonar cards are a bit of a bitch. The official drivers suck. Don't use them. In fact, I don't even recommend this card. Not anymore. I don't have anything else to recommend, but there's a third-party set of drivers that are, well, they make it work better. It works, and they have low latency versions of it through the install and stuff that disables a lot of the crap that was built into their stuff on the official drivers and this and that. But long story short, there's a mixing type of option in there somewhere. I just paused to double check. It's called 5.1 Re-enable Stereo Mix within the unified Xonar drivers. If you happen to be using a Xonar card and go through the install, I don't know if it's ticked by default when you're installing them. If you tick that, it'll actually allow you to utilize those channels. And normally it's used for 5.1 surround sound. And I'm pretty sure this system should be possible with any or most any 5.1 type surround sound card, because ASIO for all is the magic that makes it makes it routable. You can use those channels regardless of what the fuck it's supposed to be for. You just do whatever the hell you want with it. You have the ability now. And let me see, I was gonna load the drivers up. Or at least, yeah, so that's their doodad. And when I was in the software panel of their, the drivers, the Xonar stuff, it had to be manually configured once I had installed the drivers for 5.1 surround sound. I don't know if I had to bring this up at all. It doesn't even let me. It's flaky, it's inconsistent and unpredictable, and I don't know what the hell they were thinking when they were making, the card is good. The drivers just made no fucking sense. It's like, did they just give up? I don't know. But I had to enable 5.1 sound through the drivers. So if you're using any kind of 5.1 sound card, 5.1 surround sound card, maybe there's even better. I wonder if 7.1 channels might even give you more options. You may have to first enable it, and then when you go into your ASIO for all, you don't have to do anything, actually. Like the way we configured it in our previous videos, it's already there. You don't have to do anything special. Those channels are already there. So I'm editing this video, and I just realized I didn't even tell you how to route to these other channels. Like, all you got to do back when you're in the ReaRoute, right-click on Input/Output, and for your audio hardware output, instead of your normal 1 and 2 channel on the sound card, you go down 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. Which one's which? I don't know. In my case, the black one ended up being 5 and 6. And the orange one happened to be, I believe, 3 and 4. Yeah, 3 and 4. So that's it. That's how you get it out to the other channels once you have 5.1 enabled on the sound card. One thing that is absolutely worth mentioning: do not try and use more than one sound card. I've tried this in various ways, and I've dealt with this shit. It won't work. Maybe if you have like some kind of cards that can be synced through the clock, what do they call it? Clock sync or whatever. Because there's the whole word clocking stuff. If you put a second sound card into the ASIO, you can. It'll let you. It's no different than adding these virtual cables. But if you output sound to one and output sound to the other, or even use one for input and this and that or whatnot, eventually they start to go out of sync, because no two cards are exactly the same, even if they're the same model card. And if there isn't a feature built into them, and at the low price point, there is not, they will not be clocked at the same exact speeds, and they will go out of sync. And this can cause all sorts of random shit. Originally I ran into this problem when I put 2 of these cards into my DJ PC, thinking, hey, because I didn't know I could utilize multiple channels the way I do now. I was still learning, experimenting, and audio is so fucking complicated. Oh my god. But, I had one sound card that was going out to the speakers, and the other was going into my headphones, so I can monitor and queue up my music and preview stuff, etc., etc., etc. But the problem is like after a few songs, suddenly it's boom, 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 instead of just boom, 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 and then just further is boom, 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 boom. But it's two different, like, what the hell's going on? Like, everything's it's shifting. My headphones are getting slower and slower and slower from what the speakers are playing. And ultimately this was the clock syncing issue. You can't do it. It won't work. And in the case of doing it here with ReaRoute, a lot of times what might happen is rather than having syncing issues and stuff, it might just start crackling and stuff. Every time it starts getting too far out, you'll get a pop or a crackle or some kind of, audio glitch. And that's absolutely not what you want. So if you're doing this, only use one sound card and disable anything else you may have on them. Just disable it in the device manager, physically pull it out, whatever the hell you have to do. Just don't use it. So yeah, anyways, ultimately this whole little project was the birth of necessity and further expanded out of creativity or experimentation or just obsessive-like behavior. There's, as you've seen within the last few videos, there's just a ton of power behind this if you can pull it off and get it working and make it sound right. And there's still so many random ideas and things to try. For example, one of them was I wanted to see, what if I took a second one of these microphones and installed it, but instead of pointing it towards me, I point it towards the speaker and run it through its own VST filters and stuff. And the reason for that would be that if my volumes were too loud on the speaker that's getting picked up in this microphone, the other microphone's not going to be picking up my voice, but it would be picking up the speaker volume, whatever the speakers are producing, which overlaps what would be added on to my normal microphone. And then if I just took that and ran it through a phase change, and then I synchronize it to be the same with this one, I should be able to phase cancel out any background noise. And in theory, I should be able to just blast whatever the fuck I want as loud as I fucking want, and it would just cancel out because the other microphone's essentially picking up the same information and just canceling it out. So that would be something to experiment with down the line, maybe. But that's just one of random ideas. There's so many different things you can play around with. It's just a matter of necessity. And right now it's not, but it's like, something in my head wants to play. I think I'm going to be adding at least one more video into this playlist, the series, and that's going to be tips on optimizing Windows to help it perform better, the various the options within Reaper and so on that might help reduce glitching, audio popping, etc., etc. And it's a very complicated and individual case-by-case basis based on your system. No two people are going to have the same thing, and it's not going to be the same issues. That's just how audio goes. But it's definitely something worth making another video for, just to go into detail, at least what's worked for me or what I know other people have tried, whether it worked for me or not. It might for others. So I think I'll definitely include that into another video. Anyways, I think that's going to be my time for today. I'm going to leave it here. I don't have anything more to add. This was probably the least informative of the bunch, but I hope you learned something, or at least had some enjoyment or fun out of it. My name is Jacob Grosses, and I'm out. Bye.